Hello, my name is Vivian Melder and welcome to PÖFF Studio. Today in the studio we have the American director Steve Bernstein, and he has been a cinematographer for films like Water for Chocolate and the Oscar-winning Monster, as well as being the author of the best-selling book Film Production. He made his directing feature film debut with the award-winning Decoding Annie Parker in 2013, and this year in the Black Nights Film Festival, his movie Dominion is featured. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so Dominion is about the final days of Welsh poet and writer Dylan Thomas's life. With casting a Welsh actor to play this, Welsh writer, how important to you as a filmmaker was historical accuracy?
Not in the slightest.
Okay.
I think our first obligation as artists, as writers, is to seek a greater truth. And the greater truth is coming to an understanding of the human condition, to understand ideas, to understand how different people, greater people, people that preceded us, mediated the complex world. But to try to report with supposed accuracy on a person's life isn't what an intellectual or an artist does. Instead, you try to extract those things that are important. You try to understand what is of value rather than simply to retell a story that's often been told.
Right. So did that have anything to do with your particular choice to choose this period of his life?
Well, I think that, Alfred Hitchcock once said that filmmaking or drama is life with all the boring parts taken out. And I think that the part of Dylan Thomas's life that we focus on is his last day on Earth. He went to the White Horse Tavern, a drinking den in New York, where he had 18 double scotches back to back, stumbled out of the White Horse, went to the Chelsea Hotel, into the lobby and said, "I've just had 18 double scotches. I think that's some sort of record." Fell over and passed out, and then subsequently died. What I ruminate on in the film is why someone at the height of his powers would decide to essentially drink himself to death. So in our film, he takes each drink, he names it after an episode in his life, and then he remembers that episode. And in no time at all, as he becomes more and more drunk, his imagination, his experience of the ordinary world, and his memory blend together in a sort of surreal ballet. And that's what happens in the film. And the purpose, of course, is to examine what happens to a man in an extreme state when he's examining all that's of value in his life and really trying to determine whether he should carry on or not carry on.
Right. That's a really strong thematic viewpoint to create a movie on. And stylistically, just speaking, the movie is obviously in black and white. So why that choice? What adds to the story?
There's a few different things that made us choose black and white. First of all, years ago, there was a very interesting researcher named Zettel who discovered that when you created films in black and white, people considered them more important and remembered them better. The idea being that our memory generally is in black and white. We don't remember things in color, we remember them in black and white. So it goes closer to our unconscious experience of the world and our conscious experience of memories. But it's something else as well. Dylan, as we portray him, is a very unhappy individual. And literally all the color, the life, the joie de vivre has been extracted from life. And he's seen the world as black and white, as good and bad. When he remembers things, his idealized memory of his childhood home in Wales, those memories are in color. But his experience of New York in the last days of his life are in black and white. That's the other reason we wanted to play with it. So we actually shot in both black and white and color, and we even have now our sales agents discussing the film with distributors. There's a lot of interest right now in the film, and a lot of people want me to distribute the film in color. So I'm trying to make that decision now, because we did actually shoot in color and then take the color out. Yeah.
You being born in Buffalo, in the state of New York, and his final days being in New York, is that what attracted you to his story, Dylan Thomas's story in the first place, this proximity of location.
Although the fact that Buffalo is in the same state as New York wasn't the big issue for me. It was the draw of someone who was self-destructive. When I was young, I was bent on destroying myself, everyone who loved me, my acquaintances, and anything that I saw. So I would ingest anything that could be ingested. I did everything that could be done, and I wish I could remember anything from 1976 to 1991, but I can't. I'm sure I was alive because I was still here, and there's photographic records of me,
right.
But besides that, I have no memory. So I was very interested in why I was self-destructive. I was interested in why very often there's a conjoining of an artistic sensibility with the desire to live life dangerously. Okay. I was interested in the nature of individual danger, why we put ourselves in danger, and why that stimulates us. And I'm just interested in Dylan Thomas because he wrote so beautifully, but he lived so miserably. Why do those two things sometimes go together? So I found him as a character compelling, and of course I saw parallels in my own life with his.
Oh, right. In terms of you in your life, you have been working in the film industry for over 30 years. You started as a cinematographer, though having an education as a director and writer. Before that, you did philosophy, and you have found this kind of directing path now, I think, right? So what advice would you have for people who think that the film industry is something that they're interested in, but they quite don't know where they will be, whether they will be good screenwriters or directors? Right. What would you say to those people?
Well, we're building a studio in Greece at the moment, interestingly enough, and we're part of that as a film school. I just ran a film program down there, intensive program for people new to the film industry. And I gave a lot of advice. The first advice is that don't believe anything anyone tells you. When people say it's really hard to get in the film industry, when they say it's a difficult life and only a few will survive and a few will prosper, that's a nonsense. Ultimately, you can do anything you want. The world is a malleable place. The film industry is malleable and accessible, and if you simply have the desire and the accrement and the application and you work hard enough, you will achieve what you want to achieve. The important thing about film is it's a method of expression. And for artists, we are looking for ways to express ourselves. Your entree into that doesn't really matter. As long as you understand that all film is a language, every part of film, be it cinematography, writing, which is what I do principally, directing, another thing I do with actors, all of these are forms of language, methods of encoding ideas, communicating them to others, and changing possibly their view of the world, giving them new eyes to see the world is an expression we often use. So I would say learn everything, learn cinematography, learn how composition can affect meaning, learn to write, learn to work with actors most of all, and then ultimately you will discover over time where you have the greatest comfort and the greatest accrement. The mention of actors, I think, very important. So often young directors and writers are intimidated by actors, and they'll find if they actually work with actors, actors want to work with them. There's no reason to be intimidated by anyone or anything. So the advice is simply go out and work on films, as many as you possibly can, and believe that it can be done, because it can.
That's amazing. And great advice for us, because this is a BFM, like Baltic Film and Media School production, so good. We have a future, guys. Yeah. We got it. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
It was really interesting to talk to you.
Great, thank you.
And thank you for tuning in, and see you next time.
Cheers.